Today I'm going to talk to you about something I think is very important for everyone who probably watches this channel. And this is a subject that is related to mistakes that I have made in the past, and is very much about everyone's path through life. First of all, I want to address the difference between selfhood and identity. Now, my experiences of identity, and particularly my identity complexes, have been one that really has appeared a lot throughout my life. But I really didn't start getting into identity, and it was about back in 2014 when I fell into an identity complex. And identity leads you to a collectivist mindset, and it can create all sorts of complexes of the ego. Now, I'm not the first one to have this problem, this identity problem. I've seen a lot of people who were embracing the path of selfhood and then got lost in identity. And this really started really happening only very recently. I see it all across the fucking internet these days. Identity politics is now everywhere. Whether it be race, religion, nationality, sexuality, gender, the list goes on and on and on. Now, I think that the sorcerers, whatever you want to call them, have pushed this identitarianism out there. And I think this is for a reason why they're doing this. They want people to get off the path of selfhood. So they create all these different collectives, divide them, and get them to fight against each other. But this needs to fucking stop. All it is going to lead to is destruction. And this is particularly something that is a product of, well, I wouldn't say product, but a thing that has distracted particularly my generation from understanding selfhood, and has really gotten people into thinking that selfhood isn't somehow selfish. Now, I want to emphasise this clearly. Selfhood is not selfishness in any single way. Identity is more selfish because it is putting all your energy into ego. The ego projects onto the identity. Think about it. Beyond what race you are, beyond what nationality you are, beyond what religion you follow, beyond what gender you are, beyond all these different things, what are you beyond that? This is something people who are stuck in identity don't want to ask. Because they they don't explore anything they are beyond these labels they give themselves. And particularly these collective labels they give themselves. Then they project onto a leader of this identity and hope that they do all the self-work for them. Hope they're the ones that just have to do the hard work, and it's not themselves. They treat this identity leader as a parent in adulthood, as a way to get them to sort out their fucking psychological issues, to get them to fucking look into the deep or think deeply for them, so they don't have to do the fucking work for themselves. Now, I don't look down on people who have gotten themselves into identity, because I understand them. I was there at one time. I was there not too long ago. And before that I was on the path to selfhood, but I got distracted through identity, into identity collectivism, which fucked up my mind. And it fucked up my mind because my fucking ego was going everywhere. But when I got out of that, I started to become more balanced again. Now, the reason why identity attracts people is for the reasons I've stated. But also for reasons that it's that feeling of coming home, that feeling of belonging. But all that feeling is a feeling that you do not have love for yourself. Because you have no love for yourself, you need a love to become an external love, to love you first before you can love yourself. And it gives you that feeling, that collectivism. And it's interesting because Michael Tazarian always stated this, that collectivism doesn't really exist. Collectivism is a fiction, because you can't really see a collective. A collective is something that's made up. It's a fantasy to give a leader who then parasitically feeds off others and gets them to do their bidding, so they don't have to even do it themselves. So really, in actual fact, even though the collective, the followers, think the leader is doing the work for them, they don't, because the leader then thinks that the followers are going to do the work for them, and it creates this relationship of master and slave, just like Michael Tazarian goes into a lot of his work, the master and slave relationship, when really they're just enslaving each other. Now, I think that the act of selfhood is a virtuous act, and it's virtuous because it's harder to do. It's easier just to fucking join a collective identity and fucking forget the self-work. I don't have to do any true work on myself. I don't have to fucking go through a journey. I can just stop here, set up my fucking flagpole, and fucking just stand here while others go ahead and do the journey, and I just stay here. I fucking pull up a fucking chair, sit on it, and fucking just, you know, it's basically just going into becoming psychologically lazy. And we're seeing a generation now, my generation, who is becoming obsessed of identity. And like I said, the sorcerers, they did this on purpose because they could see what was coming in this fucking time. And they put this fucking identity politics in place at this particular time to stop the fucking renaissance of those who are looking for themselves coming in, or those who are doing the self-work. They want to put a fucking halt on that renaissance, on that revolution of self-awakened people. And they have done it very well. It is fucking working for them at the moment. Now, I'm not saying it will forever. But we have really got to decide now the path we take. We can continue doing our self-work, our soul evolution, and studying ourselves. Or we can just fall back into whatever fucking identity or label you want to be put in. An identity or label that doesn't really exist and is there just so that your fucking ego can just take control of you and some other leader you put in fucking your place, so you can just be their fucking minion for their bidding. Is that what you fucking really want? And I can tell you now, most of these fucking leaders who get up there on the fucking podium and fucking tell you that you need to be like this, you need to do this, you need to do that, aren't even aware themselves. So that's going to end it. Now is our fucking decision to make. There's been a lockdown sent down on us. But we're going to fucking override that. And for all the collectivist bullshit you see out there, do not get yourself cast by the fucking spell they put you under. Remember, these fucking people what do that, they don't even fucking know themselves. Even if they think they do, even if they look like fucking they're strong and they're confident within themselves. Their egos may be, but their fucking soul isn't. That's all I've got to say.